I think a game changer is someone who changes ideas, changes the debate and discussion surrounding issues people care about, who changes attitudes, and who changes, most importantly, I think, actions that can rally people to act or think about things that they're not currently thinking or acting on. Sure, I think just, the more you learn, the more people you meet, the more you realize there's so many challenges that we all face currently in this country, and particularly in the Latino community. And I think just becoming aware of those challenges is what I couldn't help not wanting to get involved, to do something about it. I started in private law practice, but I just could not help being moved more by work and policy, and in this case in the legislature. So that's what led me to kind of want to take a role in advocacy and in campaigns. Nowadays, I think for me personally, it's immigration reform, because it's just permeated into so many other aspects of policy that aren't usually talked about. Immigration and our policies on immigration have a direct effect on the economy. They have a direct effect on social fabric of this country. This country was founded by immigrants, and we've always had negative debates surrounding that issue since our onset, since the beginnings of America. But nowadays, it's just taking such a toxic turn, and that's not good for anyone. And the reality is that the impact of the immigrant community is still alive and well, and they're here, and we have issues like the DREAM Act, that we have these exceptional young people in this country, and yet they're not full citizens, and for reasons that it's just not intelligent policy to not allow these young people to achieve their full potential for all of us, for all our benefit. So I think immigration reform is my biggest concern right now. And also looking outward, our relationship to other countries. We live in such a global world now that I hope to help to be a bridge towards other countries, especially in Latin America. But we do need, I think, to improve our level of exchange and dialogue with other countries. I think first it's that everyone can help and everyone can make a difference. I think that's our first challenge. People thinking, well, what am I going to do? Whatever I can do isn't really going to move the needle. And I disagree. I think everyone needs to know that any small bit that they can contribute, whether it's helping at a local center in their community, whether it's mobilizing their student government, or whether it's mobilizing their PTA, any little bit helps. And I think that's the first thing. I would tap into, there's so many resources, so many good people doing wonderful work on the ground across the country. So I guarantee that no matter where you live or where you are, there are people already working on these issues that we care about. And that's what I've learned. And I've been lucky enough to tap into some exceptional leaders, and that's how I became involved and learned learned from such great mentors. So I would definitely encourage everyone to find out who's working on the thing they care about in their community, and to collaborate, work together. And really only by working together can we move the needle. So well, first my mother. It was through her work actually that we came to the United States. I was born in Mexico. I'm a Mexican immigrant, and it was through my mom and her, seeing her work ethic and her just exceptional ganas, as we say in Spanish, that she, was my first mentor. Working woman, professional, and yet still a mom and still at home to take care of the family. So she was my first, I would say, that made me have that drive. And then in my work, so many people, Nidhi Velasquez in the U.S. Congress is my first boss there, and she's just a dynamite as well. There's just so many folks along the way that, professors, co-workers, bosses, employers of mine. Roman Hernandez, a former president of HNBA, he's another game changer in his community, certainly. And just folks that I think the important thing about mentors are those who not only will give you advice and support, but who really become supporters of you and will invest a little bit of themselves in you and in your success. And I hope to be that. And those are the people that I think have really made a difference in my life. I think number one, to try to always understand the other side. So to put myself in other shoes. And that also helps you develop your own arguments and your own rationale for why you're doing what you're doing. And to be able to better explain it. The golden rule, I think we should all live by the golden rule of you treat others as you expect to be treated. And that's why any instances of injustice and wanting to curtail rights of others bothers me so much, because if society just functioned around what you expect of your world, and were willing to give the same kind of tolerance, I think we'd be in a different situation on many fronts. So I do live by that and appreciate that, and that goes also for within our own communities. You know, sadly, sometimes there are those who are not so supportive of younger generations or those coming up, and that's, I think, a sad fact too. I think it's our duty to be supportive of those around us and those coming up behind us. So, and I hope to do that. So that's, I think, the rule I live by, to always look back and always make sure that you're giving back to. I think there's both short-term and long-term. In the short-term, immigration reform is a key piece for the economy. In the longer-term, education. It's unbelievable that in the country we live in, one of the greatest countries in this world, we've all allowed our educational system to fall so far behind. Recently, I heard Governor Chris Christie call it, your zip code defines your education, and that's a huge problem. That's going to affect our competitiveness globally for decades, not in the short term, but for generations potentially. So I don't think we pay enough attention to the issue of education at every level, at the lower level and at higher, superior levels. Formerly, having worked at the HNBA, the Hispanic National Bar, the number one challenge to Latino students to go to law school, and the number one reason why they would hesitate, is financial. So I think that that's something we have to address. We have to address these disparities in urban versus suburban communities, disparities in educational systems from state to state. And then at the higher levels of education, we can't allow the level of rising costs in higher education. I was just looking at my university. The cost has almost tripled in 12 years. So that's just not feasible. It's not realistic. We can't keep that up. So that's an issue we have to address, I think, as well, if we're going to be competitive and really meet our potential. Well, I'm about to be a mother, so I think that's one of my big goals, to hope that that my children also have the same sense of service. And I think that to continue to teach that, what I've learned, that you cannot live in a bubble, and that what happens to others around you does affect you. So I hope to leave that. And as far as a legacy, if I can just move the needle a bit, continue to work with such amazing people, I will be happy. I will say that I was able to contribute at least my little grain of salt.